Good afternoon, everyone. This is Greg Caravello, and I want to thank you all for coming and spending the time with us this afternoon. And I'd just like to go over a couple of notes about Facility Grid, and we'll get right over to Alex. How our customers use us. First of all, our commissioning customers use us in new building construction at the beginning of the design cycle, all the way on through to handover. Existing building commissioning is a great use for our product because we are a task-based system, and we'll let you know a little bit more about how that works later on. And ongoing commissioning is a great way to be using Facility Grid also. Our quality control customers use us for factory acceptance testing, static testing, pressure testing, flushing, bus bar and cable torque testing, equipment startups, especially in the areas of scheduling, making sure that equipment is ready when they get out to the site, that everything is hooked up and proper, and some of the tests have already been run. They can track all of that through Facility Grid. Now, our construction administration, our construction contractors use us for punch lists, O&M training and turnover, and Facility Grid flows right from the beginning of the punch list all the way right through to the end when they turn it over to the configurable for your project workflow and activity. So it's all encompassing. As a matter of fact, you can manage any activity using Facility Grid. Here's a list of some of our customers. We have the full range of customers from regional and local commissioning all the way up to very large companies like Siemens, Horizon, Burns & McDonnell, AFI, etc. So you could see that we are, we're very well established with a lot of those companies, and we're part of their infrastructure on the way they do business. How we deliver value, how Facility Grid, by overhead reduction, because all users are connected all the time. You reduce the overhead by having instant communication with any stakeholder in a Facility Grid project. So anybody that you invite into a Facility Grid project, you'll be able to contact them with information, for example, an issue, take a photo, send the issue, it immediately gets recorded, and when it's resolved by the contractor, immediately the commissioning provider finds out exactly when it is resolved and can schedule time to get out there. So of course, improvement in work productivity is increased. Facility Grid also fixes data aggregation and data integrity issues because everything resides in one place and everything is managed by our servers, or in the case of our offline apps, we manage that also from the offline facility using the phone all the way back to our server. So we take all that in consideration. We proactively manage projects and pipeline. You'll see how Facility Grid will take you all the way through the project from design all the way to turnover, including notifications that you would hope that the commissioning authority would do for you. The long-term benefits of commissioning are simple. You're going to save a lot of time. You're going to provide a lot more information than you ever did because you're going to be collecting a lot more information. And that information is going to be available to you for reporting, for ad hoc reporting, and in some cases, you may even download that information for your own data mining. Some of our customers, larger customers, are interested in that. So and the next slide, please. Training and support and technology with Facility Grid. We have a comprehensive and complete library of on-demand courses. Go to our website, take a look at how many courses that we have on demand for you to take it anytime, of course. Also, we have our own YouTube channel where you can get more information. We have live scheduled customer training sessions for new customers, and also when you bring new employees into the fold, we'll set the training up, and it'll be scheduled on a monthly basis. We also provide new customer onboarding. When you get started with Facility Grid, we spend that extra time with you to get you cut over into maybe the way you might be doing things now, and help you assimilate into the Facility Grid profile. Support, online help and training resources available 24/7, and email support is staffed 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. Support at facilitygrid.com will get you there. We have a terrific force of support people that are there to help you and get that information back out to you. You'll also notice that that information goes right back into our knowledge base where it's included in new training sessions. Technology, of course, we're 100% web-based, available on any web-enabled device, including Androids and Microsoft devices and iPhones. So we have native code on each one of those, so you'll be able to, this is as good as you can get. And we spent the time to develop all of those so it would aid our customers who are out in the field. Let's say, for example, with an iPhone with no internet service, you can actually download the project and work freely without any internet availability. Secure hosting, HTTPS, redundant hosting, and backup is very important that we keep all of that. We have secure hosting and backup. Plus, we're able to maintain a high service level quality, so you're not waiting and there's no interruption of your service, and then we don't have any slow service either, and you'll find that out too. We follow the commissioning process from the beginning to the end. So it's very easy to set up your project. You import your checklist, your spreadsheets right into Facility Grid. Your assets are brought in. There's utilities that will populate a list of many assets, initiate and track progress. Very simple. You invite people into the project and their issue statuses. You can send them to those notifications, build reports anytime you want, and including photos that you can send back and forth. Sometimes that's what you need to be able to explain to a contractor what the real problem is. And we use complementary technology such as PDF markup tools like Bluebeam and iAnnotate. A lot of our customers use those kind of tools. And what you'll do in a Bluebeam, for example, when you make changes, that automatically populates down into Facility Grid. Efficiency to all stakeholders through custom reporting, the final report, the systems manual, data asset reports. There's a lot of there's standard reports, plus there's a whole lot of reports you can put out through custom reporting, building your own reports. Lifecycle management through Kobe, through the model, and you can incorporate assets and other information from the commissioning project right into CMMS programs, thereby saving a lot of time in re-inputting all that information. We have thousands of projects today in the field worldwide. You engage the entire commissioning team with a native Facility Grid app, which I mentioned before, through any of these devices. And this is very handy, especially when you're out in the field with no internet access. So quickly, in summary, Facility Grid ROIs for commissioning providers: significant overhead reduction. You reduce data capture time and eliminate double entry. You reduce time to create project status reports. You eliminate time visiting sites unprepared for testing. That's one of the most important areas that we find when you get to a site and it's all ready for you to test. Plus, you can get to the site after other issues have been recorded and reported, and you can go out and check them out on the same trip. You eliminate the manual creation of finished project reports because we have standard reports all set up for you that you can make some modifications to and add to them. Significant improvement in work product quality. You eliminate errors from transposing data because Facility Grid takes care of that, as I mentioned, in Bluebeam, or when you have something offline that you're downloading. You eliminate report formatting issues because we take care of all that for you. You increase the time commissioning providers spend in high value testing because you're not spending time entering information, writing things down, calling people on the phone, emailing, waiting for information to get back to you. Transform static reports into dynamic living documents. At any time, you can get a real-time status of where a project is. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes it's even called an unaudited final report. And mobile access to project for input and access. So when you don't have any internet, you can still get out into the field. This helps you win more business because you reduce expenses to clients with a greater margin because you're doing a lot more in a lot less time. The finished product that you deliver has a long-term value because you can recreate it at any time in your archives. You solidify the relationship you have because of what you can provide the client. You can provide the client with very complete reporting at any time, custom reports at any time, and you'll be able to keep the client in a good position where you could get a lot of extra business just because they feel comfortable that you're going to provide that information to them all the time. So you also provide the client a tool that works hand in hand with BIM with your clients that might use Autodesk, and we do that through Kobe. So that's about what I wanted to tell you this afternoon. And at this point, again, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Alex.
Thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone. Just before I start, I want to apologize for any audio issues you may be having. This is due to obviously the internet these days being overloaded. So just in case I get interrupted, so please know what's happening. Anyway, so let's jump into today's webinar. So as Eric has mentioned, we for the past couple of weeks, we've been doing this series of webinars, and the concentration of these webinars was on how Facility Grid commissioning software can aid various users throughout the commissioning process, right? So we all know what commissioning process is, we know what it does, and the purpose of the webinars was to say, why would you want to use commissioning software? What can you get out of the software? And we talked about that the software brings transparency to the commissioning process, and Greg talked about this, that we provide status charts and reports on pretty much every activity that you perform throughout the commissioning process. It obviously improves quality of your process because you can use various techniques to standardize your testing activities, standardize the equipment data that you collect in the field. It allows you to manage any commissioning, QC, and construction administration activities, as Greg has mentioned. Most of you know that Facility Grid is a task-based commissioning software, meaning that it allows any of our users, and Greg has mentioned different types of our users, whether it's a commissioning provider, whether it's a building owner, whether it's a contractor or a construction manager, they can all use the software to manage pretty much any type of activity that has to do with QA, QC, commissioning, and construction administration. Also, the software, commissioning software, improves efficiency, right, of the commissioning process. It allows you to do several things at once. It allows you to change statuses with one click on multiple items. It allows you to respond to multiple issues. It allows you to be efficient in the field where you have full access to every piece of project information or documentation, and then integrate PDF markup tools with the issues log or site observation report. Again, all that is done so that you can concentrate on what's really important. And again, the importance of commissioning, as all you know, is making sure stuff designed, installed, operated, and then maintained as it's supposed to, per the owner requirements, per the standard practices and design intent, right? And also to obviously make you efficient in the office and in the field. And Greg has mentioned that, you know, our mobile tools specifically designed for every platform, mobile platform. Okay, so all that is the reason why there's a big push these days to use a commissioning software on projects. Our last webinar, which is going to be later this week, is going to be kind of talking about, in summary, how all this work that is done throughout commissioning process then can be used for successful project turnover, right? Because this is important, right? At the end of the project, to take all the information that has been amassed throughout the commissioning process by various players, and then can be used by the owner's team to sustainably operate and manage and maintain the facility. Okay, but what we're going to talk about today is specifically the documents that commissioning providers develop throughout the commissioning process. Okay, so again, we want the commissioning team to concentrate as much time of their time as possible to, again, making sure that equipment and systems operate, installed, and maintained the way they're supposed to be, right? But throughout any commissioning process, whether it's new construction commissioning, whether it's existing building commissioning, maybe it's somebody using this the software just to manage a punch list, or, you know, do some record some testing activities, right? Maybe do some high-path testing or whatever. So regardless of what activity our users perform, there's always reports that have to be developed. They have to be provided to the team, right? And those reports are typically outlined in the scope of work documents, but also they can be ad hoc. At any point of time, a client or another project participant can contact you and ask for a status of some activity. What's the typical suggestion, for example, is to provide weekly updates on the status of the issues log. Okay, so all that requires time to put together these reports, and then to submit to the entire project team, making sure that everyone got it, and then also maintain those reports somewhere, right? Because half a year from now, after you issued your maybe site visit report where you reviewed the fire alarm system, testing of fire alarm system, somebody may go back and ask you, where was that document? We never got it, or we missed it, or we've just lost it. Okay, so what can a commissioning software do in helping developing these documents? Okay, so there's certain areas where commissioning software, and especially Facility Grid, can fit into that process. And those areas are streamlining deliverables and basically making it so user-friendly and easy to develop them. You don't have to have a professional engineering degree or another type of qualification to put together a report. So anyone on your project team can come to the certain area within the software and press a couple of buttons and develop a report. Also, Facility Grid can help you with making the reports look professionally and consistent, okay? Based on the owner requirements, based on the user requirements, based on the user templates, and even maybe color schemes or fonts, right? So basically, because project deliverables, and every time you produce something and give it to your client, this becomes a face of your company, right? Because that's what your client is going to see coming from your office, coming from your team. And you want to make sure that whatever you're providing, it does look professionally. Now, making all the documents that you produce, all the reports, logs, make them accessible. Okay, they not just you created something, threw it in the email, send it to everyone, and then half of the team never got it. Somebody may have lost it. No, you want to make sure that all the documentation that you produce, right, is accessible by anyone on your team at any point of time, and also making sure that that information is accessible when you're in the office or when you're on a job site. Okay, if you are conducting smoke control system testing, for example, okay, this week, and it got failed or whatever, it didn't work, and so you may be doing a repeat of the testing a couple of weeks later. You want to get to that information that failed last time you tested it, right? So you want to have the documentation, the reports, the comments you made, suggestions, or whatever. You want to have that information with you on the job site, not back in the office somewhere, stuck in the email maybe, but you want to have it in front of you so you can always reference to that reference that information. Okay, and also you want to make sure that the information that you actually producing is or the reports that you're producing are actually useful. What that means is that they're driven by the content. So not just provide a report on something, just so so you just put a check mark of, okay, I've issued something. But no, being able to produce a report that is specific to whatever activity you're reporting on. So this could be a status reporting or progress reporting, or maybe you need to develop some reports that have to go into lead submission, for example, right? Your lead facilitator may be looking for specific reports, specific documents that are required to be submitted for lead certification. And obviously, the most important report is which comes out of the end of the project, and which is the part of the turnover, and these are your typical final commission reports and the systems manual. Okay, with that said, now I'm going to switch to the software, and we'll go over all these types of reports in greater detail. So I'll show you some samples, what you can produce in Facility Grid, and I'll show you how and why and so on and so forth. So as I mentioned already, and I, for those of you who have attended several of my webinars, you always hear me talk about the fact that Facility Grid is a task-based process. There are two reasons I talked about this. Because first of all, this is really unique to how we do things. There are several tools out there, and they do things differently. But the way we do things, we believe in the fact that you should not have to tailor your process or your project to what the software does for you. Okay, it's the other way around. So we actually look at this differently. We think that the software has to be tailorable to your specific scope of work, to your specific process, to your specific requirements on the project, for your task. So basically, again, whether you're performing the full extent of commissioning, starting maybe from pre-design phase on the project and going all the way through design, construction, acceptance, and then into the warranty period. So you may be working on something like that. You may be working on an existing building commissioning process where you're identifying energy conservation measures, or field improvement measures, and then seeing them being implemented and so on and so forth, right? But you may also be working on a small project where you are part of a team that looks at the replacing of some existing equipment on a project. So you may be only having to look at maybe one or two submittals. Maybe you are doing some static tests, maybe running an NFPT or something. So basically, you can take any activity, large or small, and tailor facility grid specific to that. And when you do that, facility grid enables you then to develop a report from any of these activities. Okay, it can be from each individual activity, like for example, on the project requirements. Okay, so if part of my scope is to review all the project requirements, I can create a task. And if, let's say, this was a single time activity, I can create a single subtask, OPR review. And as part of my review process, right, I can document all the comments that I make throughout the process. The purpose of my review, can take some notes, some general notes. I can provide some recommendations. I can also identify who participated in the process. I can attach documents. So in this case, I would be attaching the actual document, the owner project requirements that I reviewed. Maybe I highlighted something or red marked something. And then whatever notes that I've taken, I'm going to document them as issues. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to assign them to someone. So I can assign them to myself if I'm a commissioning provider and I need to follow up on something. I can assign them to the building owner if I need some additional information from the building owner. I can assign them to the A&E team. So basically, I can collaborate in this in one location. And then, most importantly, once I'm done with this process, once I've documented everything, right? So now I should be able to simply click on this plus button, on this PDF button, and generate a report that I can send it to my project team. Okay. Now I can simply provide my project team with a URL to this to the location of this document, right? Or like I said, I can simply generate a PDF and send it to my team. Let's take a look at another example. So let's take a look at, for example, site observation reports, right? So commissioning providers spend a lot of time going through through the job sites and looking at the installation of equipment and systems, and how things are wired, ducted, piped, and so on and so forth. Making notes, making comments, making observations, documenting issues. Obviously, all that can be done online, offline, integrated with the PDF markup tools, and so on and so forth. But then at the end of the day, when they simply want to be done with that activity, there's another part that then actually taking whatever notes they've taken or whatever comments they made, in turning them into site observation reports, issues logs, switching between issues and observations. So, for example, you're working through the job site, you saw something, you figured this is probably an issue, and then documented as an issue, and then as you go back to the office, you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe it's not an issue, but it's actually just a work in progress. There's no reason to document this as an issue. So what happens then? So then you have to copy and paste something from somewhere to somewhere else, and again, you're wasting time, right? So what Facility Grid does for you, it enables you to simply, as you walk through the site, as you perform any on-site activity, and let's take a look at what you can use for site observation reports. So pretty much, like I said, any on-site activity you can document as part of the site observations. So for example, you can see right here, I have just regular site visits, right? I have witnessing of a smoke control test. I have some witnessing of or inspecting envelope testing. I have another commissioning visit, some ductwork pressure testing, and so on and so forth. So basically, what happens is in the beginning of the project, I'm going to take the scope of work document. I'm going to line up the flow of the project and the structure of my tasks based on that scope of work, right? And then as I perform these activities, I'm going to document what I see, who I talk to, any documents that I reviewed, any comments that I made. So for example, if we'll take a look at the site observation report number 1, you can see that as part of this report, I can document the systems I reviewed. I can document the purpose of my visit. I can document general observations that occurring, taking place on site during my visit. I can provide any recommendations. I can make conclusions. I can record participants, who I participated, who I walked with when I did my site walk, right? I can also take general pictures of the site conditions. I can attach any documents. So maybe I walked the site and I saw somebody is starting up a piece of equipment, and I was handed a startup report, signed startup report. I can attach it to this site activity, okay, as a document. And again, as I walk through the site, I can report observations, I can report issues. All that is done in one location. And again, if you're using your mobile device on site, you can obviously, everything that I'm showing you, you can do using your mobile device. But basically, you've spent time accumulating this, documenting all this information. You shouldn't spend any more time in order for you then to develop a professional report that you can send it to your team. And what Facility Grid does for you, it does 2 things. Number 1, it says, all right, so you can simply click on this PDF button, and we will develop a report of this activity by grabbing all this information that you accumulated here. Or we can actually go a step further. And if you click on this envelope button, and I'm going to do this right now, Facility Grid not only will generate that report, okay, it will also add it to an outgoing email, right? So right from here, I will be able to click on the send button, so I can include people that I want to send this report to. I can preview a report. I can click on this PDF button and preview that outgoing report. Okay, but then simply send it out from Facility Grid, right? You can see the report will show the participants. It will provide any information that you have documented. And by the way, it's not like you have to document all the boxes that you saw. You can leave any of the boxes blank, and Facility Grid will not add any of the blank fields. Again, this is to provide you with some flexibility in how you're putting report together. But basically, you can see I can get the picture right into the report, and then here are my issues with pictures. Everything is arranged, everything is linked. So, for example, if I click on this link, issue number 172, I will be brought into Facility Grid where this issue is located, right? So again, whoever is going to be on the receiving end of this report will be able to do it right from that PDF. And also any of the observations you document as well, they would follow the issues. So what does this mean? Again, this means that once I completed my site visit, I should be able to very quickly develop any type of report without wasting any time on that. Now, what other reports are available? Obviously, any progress reports. So if I navigate to the reports section of the software, Facility Grid enables you to put together any type of report that is required per your scope of work. Okay, so this could be custom reports. So for example, I have a weekly FPT status report, and I can create pretty much any type of report just with few clicks. So to do that, you simply click on the plus button and just throw together an outline of your report. For example, you can say, I want to have a blank page with title. I want to have, I'm going to be reporting on the issues log status. So I can throw an issues log in there. And I also want to add some charts. You're probably familiar that Facility Grid provides you with different reporting capabilities in terms of the charts on status and progress. And so you can add them as well. So that's it. So now I can just simply click on save, generate report, and Facility Grid will generate that report for me. So this is really that easy. Now, in addition to the custom reports, obviously you can develop the final commission report, which is based on the whatever the scope of work on a particular project requires as a final deliverable. Okay. So as an example, when you develop your first report on your project, final commission report, Facility Grid provides you with the outline of a standard commission report. This is based on ASHRAE Guideline 0 and LEED version 4. So this is already preset for you. So you can use the setup, okay? Or you can rearrange any of the sections based on whatever your requirements or your client's requirements for putting reports together. You can remove sections if you don't need them. You can add additional sections, basically rearrange it and make it, again, tailorable to your specific deliverables. If you want, you can even throw charts on there. So if you want to report on what, how was the progress of your activities on the project, you can throw charts on there as well. And basically, because we're a task-based process, those tasks then become your report sections, right? So if your part of your scope was to review all the project requirements, right? As you saw, I was demonstrating you before, you can simply link that activity to this report section. So that takes 2 clicks, and Facility Grid will automatically grab all the information that is related to that activity, issues, documents, notes, comments, everything, and will combine it into the report. And then you simply save it and click on the generate report. So just to show you as an example, when you do that, Facility Grid will produce for you a version of the report that is ready to be delivered to your client. Will require no additional work on the part of the person putting the report together. So it'll have the cover page, it'll have the table of content, and then obviously all the bookmarks. You can navigate from one section to another. Issues are linked to tests, tests to issues. Then also those same issues are linked to the allocation in facility grid and so on and so forth. And the last type of the project of the report, I'm sorry, is a final is the systems manual. Okay, so what's important in developing a systems manual is or any other report for that matter is, as I mentioned, making it useful, making it driven by the content. Okay, that means that you don't just throw things in there just because it increases the volume of whatever you produce. You actually put the information there that is required based on whoever that recipient of those reports. So that goes that's especially important for putting together a systems manual. Okay, so what's the most important part of the systems manual? The systems manual, and in facility grid, when you create a systems manual at the end of the project, we will give you an outline based on ASHRAE guideline 1.4, which again you can simply use as is. You can modify it, you can remove sections, you can move sections around, you can add additional sections. But what's important in this document, what's important is making sure that it's not just stack of hundreds or thousands of documents, tens of thousands of pages. It is intended to provide information on why equipment is there in the first place, and second, what does it do? That's the most important information the systems manual wants to provide to the team, who then will be overseeing the operation and management of the building. Okay, and by using a platform like this, it allows you to be as flexible as possible. Now remember, you performed all those activities in the commissioning software, right? As I described, every commissioning, every CA activity, every QC activity, you've done some fume hood testing, for example, as part of your QC testing. Okay, so where are those certificates for fume hoods? Where are the testing reports? Okay, so how is it was set to operate? What phase velocity of the fume hood, and so on and so forth. This is really, really important. And for that information to become important for those who will be overseeing information, overseeing how that building runs. Okay, you have a great features built into the software to allow you to tailor of generation of that report specific to the requirements of your client and of the project. So this completes the presentation portion of the webinar.
Everybody, again, thank you very much, and stay safe, be well, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.